Who are you and what brings you here today?
Yeah, so I'm Ossie. I'm working with Wormhole. What brings me here today is that I believe in a multi-chain future. I think we want to all bring it all together, and we want to actually be able to support not just ourselves in this as a verification layer that sits below, but we want to actually be able to support all the whole layers of all the stack in the whole pyramid.
You said multi-chain. What does multi-chain mean to you and why is it important?
Yeah, so I think multi-chain, we have different layers of abstraction that sit within the crypto space right now. Multi-chain at its core means thinking without borders. So when we think about multi-chain, we're thinking about not just the end users and the application builders, but we're also thinking about infrastructure providers and the layer 1 protocols themselves. Different layer 1 protocols have different use cases and they have different strengths and also weaknesses. So layer 1s have trade-offs that developers and institutions building on top of are actually aware of. So if you want to build an app on, let's say, an Arbitrum or a Solana because it's fast and performant, you might actually want users to be able to bridge their assets or actually refer to assets on another chain that they might consider more secure as a hub or home for their assets in DeFi.
Wormhole in a nutshell.
Human beings are social creatures at their base. So Wormhole is actually something that brings together disparate blockchain countries and enables them to communicate within each other. Wormhole is the connective tissue between blockchains, applications, and ultimately people.
What are the next big adoption drivers for Wormhole and for crypto in general if you want? What are maybe potential roadblocks to it?
I'd say adoption drivers for crypto in general that are coming would be institutions building on top. Now we have institutions and governmental organizations that are interested in utilizing the infrastructure. We have banks and financial institutions that are actually finally paying attention. Financial institutions and regulated assets are going to drive a lot of adoption in the space, and it will mean that we're not just like working within each other. We're not just like on top of each other or working with ourselves. We'll be bringing in the outside world more and more as the infrastructure starts to mature. For Wormhole itself, I would say adoption drivers are a massive explosion and proliferation of new chains everywhere. On top of that, we have people wanting to make sense of all of that. So on those different layers, we have abstraction layers, intense layers that sit below the applications themselves. Everyone needs a core message passing service that's reliable that they can also then utilize to pass these messages in a secure way. So I would say a couple of the roadblocks would be trust. So there's still governance that's involved in these layers. There's trust, and then there's also, I think, education and technical, technical capability and execution within making the infrastructure more simple to use.
What is the mid or even end goal for Wormhole? What's the overall vision for the next few years?
Yeah, nice one. So I'd say Wormhole aims to be an end-to-end platform in many ways, but also over time more modular. So right now you can see Wormhole as a one-stop shop, or originally people would see Wormhole as a one-stop shop for maybe bridging mainly. What we're doing at the moment is we're modularizing the framework so that users, developers can access data via Wormhole in ways that are maybe 10 times more efficient than, say, pushing a message. So you can start to pull messages. On top of that, we have like product suites that users or developers can actually pull off the shelf and then use those within their dApps simply. But then that's backed by the full infrastructure. So not just relayers, but also say explorers like Wormhole Scan on top of that. And then below that, in terms of the verification mechanisms, we're looking to new verification mechanisms as well, and working with our current infrastructure providers to provide one happy galaxy of interop protocol services.
What's your call to action for anyone viewing this video or watching this video?
I would say, don't be afraid. I would say if you're looking to dip your toes in, bridging assets can be intimidating initially, but you can feel free to try out a testnet. Use it to actually enhance your tech knowledge. I know everyone gets a little bit fatigued of crypto Twitter from time to time, and I think that's the best time to actually go and try things on-chain again. Now that multi-chain seems so much more relevant now that we understand there's going to be a whole world of chains out there, now's a good time to actually go and test out how this works. So if you haven't bridged before, use testnet. Use it as like a good excuse to try things out for the first time.
Any famous last words?
I'm going to ask you a question, Rob.
Yeah.
If I told you I was going to give you $10 million, what would you say?
Probably yes.
Okay, cool. Amazing. But if I told you that if I give you $10 million, you're not going to wake up tomorrow, what would you say?
Probably no. Yeah.
There you go. So it shows you that every single day that you wake up is worth $1 million, literally. So I would say just treat it like that and just remember that every day is a whole new world.